What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Monday Night Football Pre-Lock Show. Not a showdown, it's a two-game slate, and that's what we're going to walk you through here for this nice little appetizing 2 games in the NFL. Joined as always by John Breslin, SquirrelPatrol, here to help us along with our questions and our thoughts for the game. So, John, how's it going, man?
Good, yeah. Got another Monday night doubleheader, 2 weeks in a row. I guess the London games and the buys starts, and then we won't have the Monday night doubleheader anymore. But, 2-game slate's interesting, so it'll be a fun night.
Yep. And if you're into that kind of thing, also keeping my eye on the old baseball score, it's got some playoff implications, so we're doing that. So it's fun stuff here. We got, our first game, Tennessee, Miami, is not exactly like ultra exciting with Tua on the shelf nowadays, but the second game should make up for it. Seattle, I think, very underrated against Detroit. It's going to be a good game. So, you have any general thoughts on this game as we before we break down the DFS side of it?
Yeah, we just we got the Tyler Huntley back starting for an NFL team. So signed off the Baltimore practice squad. I guess just about a week or so ago, and now starting for the team. So Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley, former Pro Bowler at least. So we'll see how that goes for Miami. They got to do something, but I don't know. I think this first game has like a really wide range of outcomes. Like I think Seattle, Detroit, maybe know we're getting a little bit more. The Tennessee Miami one could go in a lot of different directions.
Yeah, it should be fun. I don't know if you're aware, but Kevin Roth called me out about a week ago, a little bit more than a week. He called me out on my Splash Sports picks for the RG Pick'em League. Yeah, I mean, I'm rebounding pretty good, man. I'm moving up the rankings, but if you haven't got in that league and you do want to get in something for Splash Sports, check it out, man. Week 4 action continues tonight. You got about 40 minutes left here till we kick off. They got a 5K Monday Night Football tiers. The tiers is very easy to play, very cool to play. You don't need any research. Pick a player from each tier. It's going to give you, depending on the tier, 6-7 options. Pick a player, move on. You got 7 tiers, and if you're the best, you're the best. At the end of the night, it's good. So yeah, that starts in about 40 minutes. They've been having some overlay there, so check it out. It's free money if that happens. We got splashsports.com/RotoGrinders. Use the promo code ROTO10 and receive $10 in credits for your first contest. So there you go, Splash Sports. It's a fun little thing. Every week something different. I'm in multiple survivors, NFL, college, some tiers this week. One and done leagues, and they got all kinds of nice little niche things going on there that nobody else is offering, and you can get in there. So get in on that. All right, guys. On the showdowns, typically, all about the questions and fire them off. Give what you want. So get in the chat. I'm on the YouTube chat. Keep an eye on it. Get in there. Fire off all the questions you want, and eventually we'll get to them. But we are going to have some structure to the show and walk you through some plays that we like. So. I see everybody in the chat right now. Mr. Gerg, Mardan, always here weekly. Derek, always here. Carolina guy, what's up? That's our FanDuel guy. We'll get to all those questions. Fire them off. For right now, let's take a look at this slate. Let's go by DraftKings pricing right now, but you can do, you can call out whatever site you want to. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. I'm seeing some parity. I don't see something that I really want to sink my teeth into, like a full-fledged lock here. I think there's a lot of different ways you can go. There's a lot of unknown with Tyler Huntley. You talked about him. All we've seen from Tyler Huntley, and it is a good little trivia that he was a Pro Bowler once, right? But all we've seen from him is just what he did in Baltimore, and we kind of know what Baltimore is, and they're not exactly the most friendly offensive, team in the league for a quarterback. Now he's going to go to Miami. Like, who knows, man? Maybe this guy really does have a little spark, and if he does, then this system can bring it out. So, talk to me about Tyler Huntley and the rest of the quarterbacks. Who you like?
Yeah, so I mean, I was kind of surprised when I saw Geno Smith coming in with really high ownership, and I'm going to be, I think, under the field, and we've got like kind of low ownership, I think, relative to like other projection systems like the Blitz on Geno Smith for this 2-game slate on DraftKings. I think Geno could end up coming in a little bit higher, and I want to be a little bit lower. I kind of agree with what you said. Like, we don't really know what we're going to get out of Tyler Huntley, and it could be a disaster. But we've seen like with Joe Flacco, last year with the Browns coming in, right? Like the expectations were super low, and then he was able to do really well. We'll see what Tyler Huntley can do with with a different form of offense with like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devin Achane, Raheem Mostert eventually. So I think that they might exceed expectations here. And like I said, I think it's got a pretty wide range of outcomes. Like I'm interested in, at least matching the field in this 25% ownership. And then I like Jared Goff as well. I like taking some of the Geno Smith ownership and maybe moving it down to Jared Goff. He's the home favored quarterback in the same game as Geno Smith. No reason to think like he can't outperform Geno Smith. I know like the Lions tend to have a defense that people don't want to run on. That doesn't mean that like they're necessarily going to have a ton of success passing the ball either. So I think they're right now like 8th fewest yards per game allowed, 8th fewest points per game allowed. So don't necessarily like the idea of Geno Smith being the highest owned quarterback here.
Yeah, it's and it's a little interesting. It's not, there's not anybody that's really though lopsided on, like there's not a massive favorite quarterback on. So it's pretty spread out fairly decently, but I agree with what you said. The Jared Goff thing is Jared Goff at home has been really good in his time in Detroit. So I don't know if people buy into that or if you're a narratives guy, but home, he's been good at home, man. So we got that working for us. Before we get any further, let's get a couple questions here. Carolina guy always wants to ask about FanDuel. That's his spot there. So FanDuel, large field, GPP. He says this week, favorite stack to win it all.
So on FanDuel, I think that Jared Goff might see even less ownership because I think Geno Smith is going to still have ownership, and I think Tyler Huntley like projects a little bit better on FanDuel. So I don't mind the idea of taking like Jared Goff and Jameson Williams. Like Williams is doing, seems to be taking a larger role this year. So you take Goff, you're going to have low ownership. You've got the quarterback for the team with the highest implied point total on the slate. You pair him with a wide receiver that a lot of people aren't going to get to. Like I think that's a pretty good recipe for success. And I would add like at least one more Detroit pass catcher, either Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta. And that's much easier to do on FanDuel. Like DraftKings, that would leave you with very little salary for the rest of your team. FanDuel, you can actually you could put in all three Lions, all three Lions pass catchers with Goff. The only issue then is you can't use any Detroit running backs because you got a max 4 of players from the same team. So but yeah, I would take Goff and maybe pair him with 2 or 3 pass catchers.
All right, question from Derek, and it's a multi-parter. So let me start you off with this part of it. Can you play Spears and Pollard in the same lineup tonight, just in general?
You can. I don't know. That would be my favorite thing to do. And actually, if I was going to do that, I might do it more on FanDuel because of the team constraints that I just described with like Detroit. Like you could see a situation where maybe like Jared Goff just goes nuts, or any of the quarterback goes nuts. It'd probably be Goff as more of a traditional passing quarterback, and throws 3-4 touchdowns. And you need like Jameson Williams, you need Amon-Ra St. Brown, you need Sam Laporta. Like they outscore all the other guys at their positions, and you need Goff. Well, then suddenly you're kind of restricted from having any of the other Detroit running backs. And that's a situation where you could end up seeing like Spears and Pollard. I just don't know. Like that, outside of that situation, I don't know that I love it. Though. Like I'd maybe try to find something else.
Okay, so with that in mind, he has a 2-parter here, 3v3. That team with Spears, Pollard, and put in Fant, Or the second part would be Spears, Achane, but he has to totally punt the tight end with Farrell Brown.
Oh yeah, I think that's fine. I love the idea of getting a little bit different at tight end. I would take like the secure because like fans could get shut out too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would take the kind of secure points with Achan and then punt tight end. Like who knows? Like Farrell Brown can catch a touchdown. Like he'll be on the field. Uh, he should see some snaps. So I would go the Farrell Brown route.
So let's you talking tight ends. Let's run over some tight ends real quick here. Let's flip to the tight ends. We'll take it out of sequence, but there's no problem with that. So we got, like you said, not just fan. There could be a lot of these guys take zeros tonight. This is not exact. It's not been a good position in fantasy this year in general. And tonight, yeah, it's really not. It's terrible, flat out. Sam Laporta should be, the cream of the crop, but he's had an awful year this year. He's totally not lived up to what we thought he was going to do. And then after that, boy, there's a mix of zeros waiting to happen here. Like there's zero opportunity cost here. Talk me through, some tight ends here, and what can we do with this position?
Yeah, I put in my article. It doesn't look good tonight. I mostly looking to pair my tight end, with my quarterback if I can afford to. Yeah, we got to take one of these guys. Laporta's the guy that seems like the most secure, but I don't like. He's also 2,200 more on DraftKings than the other tight ends. The guy I kind of like the most for the price is actually Jonnu Smith, just because we don't know. Like, I mean, Tyler Huntley's used to throwing to the tight ends in Baltimore, right? And Smith's a guy that's got some athleticism, so I like Jonnu Smith. I like the Tennessee guy, Josh Wiley. Yeah, I don't know. None of these guys really stands out as somebody I'm looking to get first in my lineup. I'm mostly pairing the tight end with my quarterback if I can, and just trying to save some money at the position.
Yeah, so we talked a minute ago about that 3v3 thing, and he had Farrell Brown in there. So on DraftKings, we're all with these $2,500 guys all getting some sort of projection. Is Wiley your favorite, or would you pivot in a GPP to some? Because Wiley probably going to get. I've seen him in some articles today, so he's going to get ownership more so than any of these other guys who are getting a projection at min salary. Is that the GPP guy for you, or would you rather take a shot on one of these 2% guys?
It depends on the quarterback. And I think, Wiley, I guess I think he'll see decent ownership. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him be one of the, like top 2-3 owned tight ends because everybody wants to punt the position, but there's probably not that much differentiation between these $2,500 guys. So, like, if I am using Geno Smith in a lineup, I'd probably rather use Farrell Brown than Josh Wiley, and that's like, I'm kind of coming from the perspective of like this super large field contest, right? Like trying to take down the 500K. If you're in like a smaller single entry, then maybe take Wiley. Like Wiley's more likely to get a reception, less likely to get blanked. But for the super large field thing, I like the idea of going with like Farrell Brown, especially if I've got Geno as my quarterback.
Yeah, and see, somebody was in chat here. There, I can't find it. Talking about Will Levis, and he wants to play him, but he's scared of getting benched. I'm kind of feel like he's just one of those guys. If he's on his game, he can win you a GPP tonight. But you got to take the good with the bad, which is he may be out of there after like 3-4 possessions because he just keeps making mistakes. But that's why we play the game, the large field stuff. So, what would be your take to him on Will Levis?
Yeah, I think that he's the quarterback I have the least amount of. Like they've got the lowest implied point total. They're like not necessarily in a great spot on the road in Miami. I'm playing some of them. I think I'm about at the field, or maybe a little bit under. But I agree. Like I always, I've been writing my article like you want to get a low owned player, but this is more of a showdown thing. You want to get at least one low owned player, but sometimes like these captains in showdown are actually pretty low owned, right? Like if you put in a reasonable second wide receiver, like a lot of times he's just seeing 5% ownership in the captain spot. And if that's what hits, that's knocking out 95% of the other lineups in the contest. Yeah, I mean, if Levis is like, is the quarterback you need to have, that's going to knock out, maybe 85% of the other lineups in your contest. So, yeah, I think he's a valid play. I think even for like single entry, but I don't think I'm over the field on him or anything like that.
Yep. We got about 30 minutes till kickoff and this thing locks up. So we'll give it about 10, 15 more minutes, and then we'll give our plums play of the night. So we won't get that out in time. But Donnie has a question. I think it's a pretty valid question here. And, I'm going to let you answer it first, then I'll chime in. But he says he feels like RG focuses on single entry and 150 max. And we don't discuss 20 max enough. So do you change your strategy for that?
Not really. I mostly what I would do for 150 max is what I would do for 20 max, depending on the size of the field, not necessarily like how many entries. I don't know that it necessarily matters how many entries I have. What matters is how many entries I have to beat. I would say that for the most part, my 20 entry max advice is going to be more similar to my 150 max advice than my single entry advice. So yeah, just take everything that I say for 20, for 150 max and divide it by 7.5.
The only thing I'll add to that, and I was going to say the same thing about, what kind of contest you're in matters a lot more. But the only thing I'll say is that when I do 20 max, and I've only got those 20 lineups, and I'm not running, I got these 20 lineups in a 20 max, but I've also got another, 150 over here. And if I've only got 20 lineups, I just find myself finding one guy that I like. If it's a showdown, then that's my captain. If it's two gamer like this, then it's whoever it is. And I'll tell you who mine is later on the plums planner. And I just lock him in. 20 for me, 150. I don't want to lock in one guy. I don't want to be stuck with one guy in 150. Single entry, obviously, I'm sitting down hand building. So, it is what it is. But for 20 max, I don't have enough. I feel like it feels to me like I don't have enough to disperse across all these lineups. I don't want to go 30% of this guy and 40 of that. Like, I'm find a guy and I lock him in. That's how I do my 20 max. But, what you're playing up against matters a lot too. All right, let's see what else we got here. If you had to play Jalen Wright or Jeff Wilson Jr., which one would you choose?
Probably Jalen Wright, just the appeal of the unknown versus the appeal of a known Jeff Wilson. I guess it's possible that Wright is going to have a role that expands as the season goes on. That's less likely for Jeff Wilson. So really, just trying to embrace the unknown there with Jalen Wright.
That'll take us to some running backs. Let's talk about some running backs. That we might like. We got the cream of the crop, Achane, playing tonight, and we know with Tua he's very good. With Skylar Thompson, he's very average at best. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it's all laid out. So we kind of don't know what we're going to get with a new quarterback in play. Maybe we get the old explosive Achane, or it may be a dumbed down version of the offense. Who knows? But aside from Achane, who are the other guys we're looking at, and how do you feel about Achane?
So Achane kind of fits the role of, because he's going to be so highly owned. He's just highly projected owned. Like, he's one of the players I have the most of, but I might still end up being slightly under the field. Like, I've got him on more than half my rosters. The field might be at like 65%, 70%. So, if I'm at like 55 or something, I might be under the field. The guy I probably want to be over the field on is David Montgomery. Like, I did a prop comparison between like him and Kenneth Walker in my article. This 2-gamer. Like, Montgomery is the guy with the best anytime TD odds on the slate. Like, and this isn't like some really high scoring slate. Like, scoring a touchdown might mean a lot on the slate. So I think a lot of the ownership is going to go to Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't hate Gibbs. I think you can play Montgomery and Gibbs in the same lineup. Like some kind of Detroit, just romps scenario. But I like Montgomery should probably be seeing more ownership. So yeah, I don't know. I like Montgomery probably the most in terms of like being over the field on. And then I don't love either. Like I don't love Kenneth Walker. He might be a running back I want to be under the field on, just coming back from injury. So maybe want to be a little bit under the field on Kenneth Walker, maybe a little bit over on Zach Charbonnet, especially on FanDuel. On DraftKings, Charbonnet is still really priced up, so it won't take much to get over the field. Like I might have him at like 5-6%, whereas the field's at like 3. On FanDuel, I actually want to have, because he's priced down on FanDuel. I think I have double-digit ownership on Charbonnet. And don't mind like going down to Ty Spears either. Like there's a big price gap on DraftKings down to Spears.
Yeah, you've done this before. I remember, doing the little 2-gamer last year, and the running backs, the second running backs, not the first guy that everybody's going to choose. The second ones can get you there sometimes. So we've got multiple candidates on this particular slate for like not the number one guy, but the next guy that could, and they're all really interesting. So yeah, I agree with all that we talked about. Let's see if we got any more questions here. Yes, Butthole, we're getting there. Give us a few minutes. We'll get to the Plum's play of the night as the Braves close out the game to get to the playoffs and hit the run line in the 8th inning there. With that little last dash there, if you're into that kind of thing, but it should be fun. That starts tomorrow, so we got like Monday Night Football tonight, then playoff, 4-game. Like we're doing pretty good here, man. We're gonna have some good stuff. All right. DK, $200 single entry. So he's spinning up, and it's a single entry. So it must be a little bit less in the field here. So he went like there's a difference between spinning 200 on an entry and spinning 3 on an entry. You kind of want to get your eggs in order here. Yeah, in the $200 one. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba plus Jameson Williams. Or would you go on the other side of that, which is Metcalf and Tyjae Spears?
I'd probably do the JSN and Jameson Williams. I like the idea of getting up to Metcalf, but like Tyjae Spears, we don't really know how that backfield is breaking down. It's been the Tony Pollard show. Yeah, I'd probably go because you've got a pretty good mix of upside there with JSN and Jameson Williams. Anyway, I'm worried that Tyjae Spears would end up like tanking that lineup, and it's if it's $200, and you want to maybe play a little bit safer.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the ceiling is there right now for Spears, and you're always, no matter what game, what slate, you're always chasing ceiling, but. But then again, you get it with Metcalf though, so who knows? And you could, and Jameson Williams could also be a goose egg guy. Also, he's not exactly Amon-Ra St. Brown type of workload. So I don't know. All right, Tyler wants to know running backs in the Huntley, Hill, and I'm assuming that's Jonnu Smith. So this Dolphins little mini stack, would you play any Dolphins running backs with that?
Yeah, so like you've got Tyreek Hill and Huntley. Anyone to know, like, can you play a Dolphins running back? Like, can you play Achane as well? I think that's fine. It's not like Achane catches passes, so like you could see Huntley throw 2 touchdown passes. One goes to Tyreek Hill, one goes to Devin Achane, and that's the stack you need. So yeah, I don't think there's like any conflict there.
Yeah, let's see. Do you like a Smith, Lockett, Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant stack?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like I want to pair my tight end with my quarterback. There's like virtually no opportunity cost there. So like and like Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett's going to be fairly high owned, but it should be. I mean, that's good value. Like Lockett in particular is pretty good value. So yeah, you've got Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett. Like that's pretty good. Just add Noah Fant because the opportunity cost at tight end is virtually 0.
The chat's saying RIP Pete Rose, man. What happened there? I know we lost Dikembe today, Mutombo, but I don't know how to check that out. So I hope that's not fake news, man. That'd be terrible, but I have to check. I haven't seen that yet, but all right. Any love for DeAndre Hopkins?
A little bit. He's well priced, and yeah, actually I do. I think he's maybe priced a little bit down too low, and most people are going to be looking over this first game of the night. So I like DeAndre Hopkins. Like he's been coming back from injury, and maybe he's going to start to see a little bit more usage there. So I do like that.
Okay, let's see here. Speaking of DeAndre Hopkins, let's talk about some wide receivers that we might like. We haven't really got into a lot of it except for a few 2v2s and 3v3s, but the highly projected guy, the cream of the crop, Amon-Ra St. Brown, but DK Metcalf is right there. We know he has this massive ceiling also. Tyreek, just probably the biggest ceiling on the slate, but you just don't see it come out without Tua there. But we got a quarterback. We don't know what's going to happen, so maybe it is going to pop out. Like, there's a lot to choose from in this, from expensive down to mid-range to cheap. Who's your favorites? How are you playing this tonight?
So I think like the absolute cream of the crop is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's like favored for over 6.5 receptions. So especially on DraftKings where you're getting a point for each of those receptions. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, the most. But I do, I love the idea of trying to get over the field on Tyreek Hill in tournaments, right? Because like he's a guy that can absolutely break the slate. But then if I'm trying to get both of those guys, at least like match the field or get over the field, somebody's got to go, and so that ends up being like DK Metcalf. Metcalf's obviously a guy that can break the slate. And obviously, my 150 set, I'm going to have some DK Metcalf. It's just I like the idea of trying to be over the field on or at least like trying to match the field on Tyreek Hill and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So let's not count running backs here. I'm not talking about guys like Achane who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Let's not count that position. I just want to talk about pass catchers, wide receivers, tight ends specifically. I know you like to stack a lot, and you're going to always pair guys with their quarterback, even on the small slates like this. How many pass catchers, aside from running backs, how many pass catchers is too many to pair with a specific quarter? Like, at what point is it like diminishing returns, and this is just not going to get there?
So I think it depends which game, actually. for the Tennessee-Miami game, I don't know. You got to sit there and think also the tight end is such a wasteland. So I probably wouldn't pair them with more than like 4. And I'll say that on FanDuel, like you can't even get to more than 3. I would be willing to I've got some some Levis and Huntley lineups. They're only like single stacked or 2 wide receivers. Just because like they can add a little more rushing. So and they're cheaper. So like they maybe fit in as a value. It's possible. Like Josh Allen was the highest scoring quarterback on the last 2 games or on Monday night a week ago. And he despite being the highest scorer at the quarterback position, he wasn't in the winning line because he got priced off. And Joe Burrow was like just a point or 2 behind him or whatever. And so you could possibly see something like that where like Huntley is outscored by Geno Smith by a couple of points, but you need the money to spend somewhere else in the lineup. So anyway, yeah, I think you can do like a Huntley skinny stack and a Levis skinny stack.
All right. Listen, guys, we got about 16 minutes till kickoff. So I'm going to do Plum's play tonight here in just a minute. Before I do want to read the RG Combo Light package we got going on. It's a new product here. It gives you a power of simulation for a fraction of the price of the other tools. Competitors charge literally hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month for their sim product. Combo Light is just $39.99, and it includes SimLabs lineup building tool plus content from some of your favorite DFS analysts like Squirrel here. And Combo Light doesn't limit you to one sport either. So you get the SimLabs for, I think we only have 4 sports right now: MLB, which is playoffs, NFL, NBA coming up, and PGA. So you get the Combo Light, you get all that stuff. SimLabs awesome, man. If you just want to, and it's not, I know people are going to say it's building your lineup. That's no fun. Actually, it's just a little tool, man. You can still do whatever you want with your lineups via SimLabs. You can lock players, you can exclude players, you can do whatever you want. You can go back and manipulate your particular exposure to players and X guys out. And pick and choose from lineups. So it's an awesome package. That's really a good price if you just want to do the sim stuff. It's good stuff. All right. Got some questions. Get some more questions in, guys, because when we come back from the Plumps play tonight, we're going to need to answer questions. That's our player pool. We've laid it out for you. But with about 14 minutes left, I need to know what Squirrel's Plums play of the night is tonight.
Yeah, so I'm not going as off the reservation as I sometimes do for this, but I think it's David Montgomery. He's not seeing the ownership that he should. He's the kind of the rushing based running back for the team with the highest implied totals, playing at home. And they're the favorite team. So yeah, I'm gonna go with David Montgomery because he's getting overshadowed with like Jahmyr Gibbs and Devin Achane. And then you want to spend up at wide receiver as well. Like he's getting kind of lost in the mix here. Like he's the guy who's most likely to score a touchdown on the slate, so he should be higher up.
Yeah, I'm not going very far off the reservation myself. I don't think it's in this two gamer with there's a lot of star power. I don't think you need to go crazy. That'd be crazy. So I'm going to give you a wide receiver. I think is in a good spot tonight. I like anyway. Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of gets. I know it's a two gamer, so there's going to be some popularity there. But between Metcalf and Lockett, even Kenneth Walker on the same team, maybe that draws some of the ownership away. But I just think that this is the way right here. This is I love the kid. Always loved him since college days. I think he's extremely talented. It's just a matter of time before he starts to take over as the number 2 guy here. And with Detroit's defensive line being so good at rushing the passer, I just don't know that you're going to have a ton of time to sit back in the pocket and find Metcalf way down the field. So you got to go and resort to the next thing. It's the check down, and that's Jackson Smith and Jigba's game. I think we can get some good PPR action here for him, and he's really explosive after the catch for FanDuel too, in case you want need a guy to get in the end zone. So I'm going Jackson Smith and Jigba. Guys, 12 minutes left. Let's get some questions here. I saw one in just a second. Do you like Ridley more than Hopkins on the classic slate for DK?
Yeah, so if you can afford Ridley, I'd get up to Ridley. But I do think that Hopkins is good value. So
see, 2 guys ask a similar question, so I'll ask you about Brock Wright. Any Brock Wright love? And would you rather have Brock Wright or the more popular tight end from Tennessee, Josh Wiley?
If I'm playing Goff, I want Brock Wright.
Jeff Wilson Jr. had a pre-game injury in warm-ups and is questionable for the game.
Okay. Jeff Wilson Jr. is questionable, which means that that means we probably won't know. What do we got? 11 minutes. I doubt they say, okay, he's out or he's in. I don't think they'll say that. So let's just assume we go up to lock and there's no more word than what we just got. He's questionable. Does that change anything for you?
So I wasn't playing a ton of Jeff Wilson, but I think in Showdown I got to make a swap to Jalen Wright. But I would honestly, I would just swap anything. If you're using Wilson, I think Wright is less expensive, so I would just make that swap now.
Yeah, but like no definitive news, just a maybe. He's just a questionable. Does that on the 2-game slater there? Are you going to now try to jam in more Jalen Wright?
No, I think we'll just. My guess is questionable with a pregame injury is not good news. So I would assume he's out.
Yeah,
and then I wasn't playing a large amount of Jeff Wilson anyway.
Yeah,
I just think I preferred Wright honestly, regardless. So.
Yeah, Jeff Wilson not really moving the needle, and I think Achane he's already locked into this massive role. They have to have him for the big game anyway. So I think the needle moves for Jalen Wright. That's about it. And so, yeah, if you want to play that angle that Wilson's going to be out, it's right. And yeah, I would certainly even if I had an affection towards Jeff Wilson, I'd probably be taking him out of my lineups right now just in case. It's not. I don't think that's worth it. The upside's not even there anyway. All right, would you guys play Lockett and NSJ? I'm assuming that's Jackson Smith and Jigba. and Lions, would you play Lockett and NSJ and Lions for captain tonight? Jim, I'm going to need a little bit of clarification on that question. You asking me which one of those three for captain? I don't think you play a defense in captain. So it comes down to the two Seahawks wide receivers, Lockett or NSJ. I don't know what that means, but Lockett or Jackson Smith and Jigba, which one do you prefer? Squirrel? I think you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, dog's barking. I'd do Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, probably just a touch more upside, but who knows? Any thoughts on Chig Okonkwo? You know what? I give you some thoughts. I kind of like him, man. Like, especially if everybody's for like people are on Josh Wiley because he's on the field a lot, and I get it. But just because you're on the field doesn't mean you're a producer. If that's taken away from the ownership of Chig, which I think it looks like it is, absolutely, I think you could play him. If Laporta doesn't get there, I don't think you lose anything at tight end anyway. So, absolutely. Let's see here. Right? Any thought? Jackson Smith. Would you pair Jackson Smith and Jigba with another Seahawks wide receiver? I think he's kind of – Squirrel's already hit on that. If Geno Smith's your quarterback, absolutely yes. Let's say Geno Smith's not your quarterback. You're running from a quarterback from the other game, not even the game stack, but from another game. Do you limit your pass catchers from a team?
Not really, especially if it's from the same game. So, like, I've got a bunch of, like, Jared Goff with multiple Seahawks wide receivers because the Seahawks wide receivers are just well priced. It's not insane. Like, if Goff throws 3 touchdowns to, like, Jameson Williams and Geno's, throws one to Lockett, one to JSN, well, you could easily see, like, a Goff, Jameson Williams, Lockett, JSN team, right? So I don't limit it like that. Like I do, I would limit it on a 14 game classic slate. I wouldn't limit on a game.
Okay. Mardon has a question that I don't even know if we got to this a minute ago when the other news broke, but it says showdown now, not the 2-gamer, just for the showdown, Wiley or Wright? Well,
I'd still probably go Wiley.
Yeah.
But even if it Wilson injury.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one. We got that one. Let's see. Torn between Achane 7,800 and Gibbs 7,500 on FanDuel. He's already has David Montgomery in that lineup. That has to make a difference for you, right?
So wait, he's got David.
He's got Montgomery on FanDuel, and now he has a choice between Achane and Gibbs. So double Lions running back or Achane.
Yeah, I'd probably go Achane.
Yeah. Although you never know. It's not saying it can't happen, but is Spears a good play in DK large field?
Yeah, I think he's good. He's risky, so like you could take a pretty small score there, but he's also going to be low owned, and that's what you want in these large field contests, right? Like assuming it's like a $3, you're putting in money where you're just hoping to hit first place and have some entertainment, then I think Spears is absolutely fine. Just because he's low owned, and there's a big gap there between Spears and the other running backs who are kind of guaranteed to see action. So, I think it's fine.
Okay, here's one for you. DraftKings, $3,100 or less. Who's the last guy you're sticking in your lineup at? $3,100 or less.
So I'm assuming we're doing the 2-game slates.
Yeah.
DraftKings.
So the ownership in that category definitely says Josh Wiley.
Yeah,
and probably Wiley. Even the projection too. So that's kind of the guy standing out. I would say like GPP. We're in large field, big large field. $3,000. Braxton Berrios. Like, what are we going to? A new quarterback? You never know. A little check down machine. What you got there, TJ?
I would try and find $100 extra and go with Tim Patrick. Yeah. Probably the wide receiver 3 for Detroit. Last game he surpassed Raymond for snaps. I would probably try and downgrade the defense if you can and get Tim Patrick.
Defenses don't matter on this slate, do they, Squirrel?
Not really. They're pretty random. I like the idea of trying to go with one of the lower defenses.
Yeah. So if you can find any extra money in your defense to make your offensive roster better, do it. Defenses tonight really should. Oh my God. I don't even want to get into yesterday where the chalkiest defense was the Falcons. And they fluke into 2 touchdowns, man. And it was just bizarre. And I was so upset. But defenses don't matter, man. They have to get super lucky to have something like that happen. None of these defenses are dominant, so we're good. Let's see. We got anything? We got about 4 minutes. Let's answer a few more questions for them. Gibbs or Pollard on FanDuel?
I go with Gibbs.
Any love for Tyler Boyd tonight?
Not really. I'd just rather go somewhere else.
Yeah, what's kind of talked about this a little, but a quick opinion on Tony Pollard tonight.
I think I like him better than Kenneth Walker. I could see a situation where like he just ends up being the guy at that price range. So I think he's fine. I don't have a strong opinion. It's possible you're just playing a combination of wide receivers where you can't pay up for Gibbs or Achan. I'd rather try to get to Montgomery than get Pollard. I'm assuming. If you can't get to Montgomery, then I would play Pollard over like Kenneth Walker. But it's pretty close, and I'd try to find the $400 to get to Montgomery.
Yeah, Donnie says he has a ton of Detroit. Is he dumb? No. I mean, Detroit's as good as anybody on this slate, but defense is we just talked about it. They don't matter. Sorry, I am late, guys. Did you think DK Metcalf was a bad play on DK for GPPs? DK Metcalf, good play GPPs, right? He's fine, perfectly fine.
He's fine. I have a preference for Tyreek Hill, and but Metcalf is much safer, probably.
He's one of 3 guys with the massive upside on the slate with Tyreek Hill, and there's 3 guys in that tier, and he's one of them. So you just never know. You can't go wrong with any of that stuff. Pollard or Walker for FanDuel, the last guy in?
I'd go Pollard. I'd go Pollard.
DraftKings, which Lions running back, Gibbs or Montgomery? DraftKings with the PPR.
It really just depends if you're trying to get different. Like Gibbs is going to project better. I think it could be a David Montgomery game, and Gibbs and Achan are going to get all the ownership. So I'm trying to get a little bit different and play more Montgomery, and it's probably going to hurt my Gibbs exposure. But
let's see, Mr. Irrelevant, first game showdown on DK. I have 13 left. Did I do something wrong? Is that an okay amount to leave on the table for a large field in showdowns?
Oh yeah,
yeah, plenty. Yeah, you're good, man. You can leave thousands, multiples of thousands on the table for showdowns. You're fine with that. Ridley or Hopkins, we kind of talked about that. A lean towards Ridley, but Hopkins is fine. Levi's will be playing for his Mayo sponsorship tonight. I don't know about all that. Somebody else said Huntley was from Miami, so he's going to have a good game. If Huntley has a good game, it's because he's in a phenomenal system right now for quarterbacks, not necessarily because he's from Miami and it's a narrative, but any of that stuff can happen. Would you play Pollard or take the savings with Tajay Spears? You're more of a Pollard guy tonight, right?
I'd go Pollard over Spears. Yeah, if you have the money.
Yeah. Okay. Less than a minute left, guys. I don't see any more questions. I think we took it down to the wire. You got your plums. You got everything you need to go. I think this is the last 2 gamer for us. So we're gonna get back on track for the showdowns on Thursday. Should be fun. Enjoy this stuff, guys. Enjoy all the good sports coming up this week. It should be a blast. For Squirrel, for TJ behind the scenes, I was host Shop. Good luck in those GPPs. Until Thursday, we're out of here.